Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Updated. It's certainly been a while, hasn't it? And as I did make a video beforehand, just explaining like what's happening with the channel and all that other stuff. You can see that I'll put it in the link in the description, but yeah, you can watch that later on. But yeah, let's just say a lot of things are changing, a lot of things are staying the same, and one of the things that are actually staying the same is this show. This ain't going anywhere. You're still getting the same stuff. People like it. People enjoy it. So just keep on watching. So now that's out of the way, we have a lot to just. Oh, what was that? We have a lot to discuss. That still doesn't sound right, but hey. Yeah, but we got a lot to discuss in the meantime, because this is kind of the console edition of Updated. I still not got a good voice for it. But yeah, look for this is so much to talk about, so much, because this last couple of weeks where I've been away, shit's been changing. Shit's been changing for new generation, for the new generation of consoles. We'll start off. We are got like three main console manufacturers. I will do like a streaming thing next week, because we've got to talk about Amazon. We've got to talk about xCloud. I want to talk about Stadia and all that other stuff. I want to talk about. So this week will be the physical consoles we will talk about, and then next week will be the streaming services, which is again a part of gaming that I really want to talk about. But hold on. So we'll talk about. We'll start off with. We are going to talk about Nintendo, even though technically, they're not bringing out a new console yet. There will be kind of a bit of a fools to do that at the moment, especially with Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony battling out, trying to grab your money and investing in everything. But we do have some rumors that I really want to comment on. One of them is the 4K rumor that last time I did we did Updated, and I really talked about it. I really explained like my feelings towards why it's not going to happen, why this is, and then literally the next day after recording it and then uploading it, we get a news article going, 4K rumor true. I'm like, no, why am I wrong? This is unfair. So yeah, I'll explain what the whole thing is. So this isn't just a rumor. This is kind of a half truth in a way. So Nintendo has asked different companies outside of their Nintendo circle. So they're outside of, like, people who develop games for them that are exclusive to their consoles, that aren't part of their first party, what they're called, first party launch, basically. So they basically asked them, can you make games 4K ready? And at the moment, the Switch is unable to do 4K. The two Switch options that are available, the Switch Lite and the original Nintendo Switch, cannot do 4K support at the moment. So that means, you guessed it, we have ourselves a 4K Switch incoming. Now, when is this going to release? If I was to have a guess, 2021. End of 2021? But if they were clever, they wouldn't release it next year either. They'll release it in 2022. For several reasons. People need to kind of get 2020 out of their system. Because financially, it's been a burden and a half. So I don't understand why Xbox or PlayStation even said, like, we're going to put out a console this year. That doesn't help, because we're in a shit time as it is. So yeah, I'll talk more about Xbox and Sony later. I've got a scheduled. It's not scheduled. Kind of like I've got things to talk about, and in a certain order, basically. But yeah, like I said, we heard that, not only that, but I think Jeff Grubb also talks about it online. This is an insider trying to get inside information and all that other stuff. He has a lot of friends in high places in the games industry. So he talked about many different stuff. He's talked about Mass Effect. He's talked about Nintendo. So I trust his sources. I trust who he is. He is going to be the next Jason Schreier. Even though Jason Schreier hasn't left at all, he's just gone to a different place. But I don't hear much from Jason Schreier nowadays. But I hope he's doing well. If you're listening, Jason Schreier, I really appreciate it. How about we get to chatting? Yeah. But anyway, what I want to talk about was, yes, I do apologise for getting it wrong. I do apologise. I honestly thought Nintendo wouldn't do it. This is so mainstream games media. Nintendo doesn't do normal stuff. That's why I was almost certain that they wouldn't do it. But yeah, I could see it happening with the new console generation. Don't get me wrong, if this came within like the Switch 2 or something, yeah, I could see it happening. 4K support, perfect. Because they keep upgrading their specs each time. That makes sense in my mind. But from mid-gen upgrade, that's very normal. That's too normal in my eyes. So I'm intrigued about what Nintendo has planned for its future. Not only that, but especially as this is come maybe right after Doug Bowser has properly set himself in Nintendo, and maybe this was his first priority: make Nintendo a power force that is equivalent, whatever. Make himself as big as Sony and Microsoft. It's probably, I don't know if it's going to happen. Probably going to buy more. Are they going to create more studios? I have no idea. But at the moment, our focus shouldn't be on 4K support. We've got Xbox. We have PlayStation for that. What Nintendo should be doing is aligning themselves in a way to suggest that they are a console, a side console. And I know that's like first world privilege or something that everyone goes, oh, what are you fucking on about, mate? And I understand that. I honestly do. Well, money is tough at the moment, and no one can afford one console, let alone two. But they should be aligning themselves as a side console, or, you never know, a main console for people that don't usually play that many high AAA games. That's all I'm saying, because that's what Microsoft and Sony are doing. In a way, Microsoft are doing... I'll talk about, again, I need to stop talking about Microsoft and Nintendo and Sony at the moment, because they're not the ones we need to talk about. Nintendo is. But it's going back to this conversation of, does Doug Bowser see Nintendo rivaling the likes of Microsoft or Sony? I hope not. I hope he realises that he cannot go up against them. I'm sure they can make much more money if they do their own thing rather than competing and doing the same thing as other console manufacturers out there. I think, first of all, what they would need to do, yes, if they wanted to do 4K, okay? Let's say they do a 4K console. So what you're going to have to do there is say, alright, we're going to put all our resources into that. Perfect. We look at prettier games now. Okay? Nintendo, you've got other problems. Your online service is dog shit. Please do us all a favour and fix that first. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I just want to make it clear to everyone. I am a huge fan of Nintendo. I've owned the Wii because again the Wii came out when I was younger, and that was one of my favorite consoles. The Wii U didn't own. I had a DS, I had a 3DS. I had all these as a family. I had all these consoles. I even had the Wii U. But I honestly see it as a secondary console compared to my Xbox or something. And then yeah, I see it as a secondary device. So Nintendo, please. I'm not trying to be horrible here because you've done some fantastic stuff. Not only putting yourself in the name of the gaming industry, you've got your games are out of this bloody world. Mario Odyssey recently, Breath of the Wild. Trying to think now, but you've created many different and unique experiences. So it's kind of intriguing that you're trying to do what is nothing like you. Just if this is Doug Bowser, okay, just listen to me, mate. You don't want to do it. Just stop. Just stop it. Stop. Oh, so Nintendo's done. But no, I really do enjoy Nintendo consoles. I'm not having a go at them. I'm just saying I don't see this as a Nintendo move. I see this as a what do we do? But hey, I don't know. So, how about we move on to the console wars, quote unquote. No, I joke about because I'm not a big fan of console wars, but we have Sony and Microsoft trying to grab our attention for our money, like they usually do. Surprisingly. So we're gonna start off with. Oh, hold on, give me a second. I need to jump. I need to take off my jumper. It's bloody hot in here. Right, that's much better. So, what I want to. So we're starting with PS5 because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of shit stuff to go around. One of them being that I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff and there's a lot of discussion around it, should I say. I shouldn't say good stuff or bad stuff because it's all up to the opinion of most people. And some of it's good for the developers and some of it's not good for the... Well, when I say it's good for the developers, I'm going to talk about it more later. We've got, again, I want to talk about more the specs first because that's the most important thing to discuss about. That is the console. Excuse me. That is what the console is. That's what you're buying it for. As much as you're going, you're buying for the games. No, you're not. You're buying the console first and foremost. So when you're buying something, you need to know what's going to happen. So, this generation, it's going to act like a little bit differently compared to the last generation, where we just had one console, and that was the only console you were going to buy per thing. So it's like you either had like one PS4 version, that was it. This generation, we've got two versions of each console. PS5, we have the normal PS5, and then we've got the PS5 all digital, which the price of them is, if you're in the US of A, love your country by the way, except for your president, it's going to cost you $500. I don't know if that's going to fit, if that's big, if that's a lot of money in your country. I don't know. If you're in the UK, woo, by the way, $450. That's sweet FA for a new console. And I honestly thought it was going to cost a hell of a lot more, especially as I've heard it would cost to develop it. It was about per console about 500, 550. And for Australia, this is what I'm reading off the site that I'm using. It is the techradar.com. Just to let you know, this is my source. So if there's any wrong information there, just let me know. For the Australia, it is... What's the bloody hell? Oh yeah, because Australian dollars are... Yeah. Is $749.95 technically. Okay, that's pretty expensive. Well, either that or what the hell is that? Is that like a tax or something? Is the dollar weaker there? I don't know. We'll see. If there's any Australians, just tell me what is going on with your... Why is it so expensive? Well, I haven't even seen the Xbox Australian dollars at the moment. Blimey. But yeah, completely off topic there. PS5 Digital Edition will cost $400 in the US of A. It's $359. 300 doesn't seem right. I think it means $349. surely. Yeah, I think it's $349 in the UK and $599 in the Australian US dollar. So already we got something wrong with the thing. Sony has confirmed. Yeah, so we've confirmed the price. But so that does mean technically, I think at launch the PS4 was only like $399. So it was equivalent for a PS5 digital edition. And if you're and that had a disc drive with it. But they did say about the PS5, the PS4 and the Xbox One, they were kind of naff in a way. They weren't the much boosted that a new console generation needed. So both companies kind of were a bit stingy there. So this is a proper next gen upgrade, not just with the GPU, CPU, and all that. But I will explain all that other stuff because some people don't know what CPU stands for, what it does, or what GPU does, and I'll also explain the SSD at the best of my ability. But yes, I'm sure. Let me just say right now, Australia, what the fuck is wrong with your dollar, man? Maybe you've got a substantial tax on it. Blimey, I thought. Oh god, I'm not moving to Australia anytime soon. But yeah, I'm gonna reveal. I'm gonna talk about the specs now because this what kind of is, like I said, it's important. So the CPU. It is an AMD Zen 2 based CPU with 8 cores, 3.8 GHz. Variable frequency. So I'm going to emphasize on the AMD Zen 2. What that means is that that's basically, to explain it properly, it means that it's got a very good CPU. Okay, let's just explain it. Let's just say how good it is or not, because I don't think I have the ability. I think if you want to know what CPU, GPU, and all that other stuff can do, I honestly would say go to Digital Foundry. They have a lot more knowledge than even I can explain. But the GPU, right, is 10.28 teraflops. Just think of like a penis or something. I don't know. That's every time I think of teraflops. It comes into my mind, man. Just name it something else. But it means and it's a variable frequency. So that meaning that is the highest it can go. It's not a solid flop rate. God damn it! Please change the fucking name. But yeah, it means that it can go up to roughly about 6K at most. That is the highest amount of pixels it can go to. But it also means that it puts pressure on the cooling system, which is not good because it's overclocking. This whole GPU and their quote-unquote variable frequency is meaning that it's overclocking the GPU to a maximum of 10.28. Now, what we've heard from insiders that it's technically only supposed to be doing a standard frequency of a 9 teraflop. So that is kind of bad. It's not great that we're overclocking GPUs already. And it's going to put it's going to put stress on the system that maybe it doesn't need. I'm not trying to be harsh to it or anything, and I understand there's loads of people out there who can correct me on this sort of stuff. But for me, already you've got 9 teraflops for a console that if you were going to release the PS5, I wouldn't have released it this year. I would have released it last year. I would have talked about it a fuck ton before Microsoft could even get their hands in anything. But I don't know. Maybe just maybe. What am I doing by my voice? I don't know. The GPUs just seem so low to me for a new gen console. It's not as bad as the likes of between the Xbox One and the Xbox 360. that will never be as bad. But I don't know, just Xbox might have done it better, but I'll talk about Xbox later. Of course, we've got the GPU architecture, which means is that it. So whatever I say about the teraflops, it's going to be better than the original RDNA. So there's RDNA 2 and there's RDNA 1. For some weird reason, it's telling me custom RDNA. Oh right, yeah, I did hear from. If you ever watched like the I think it's the Xbox podcast. I can't remember what it's called. So the custom RDNA 2 is kind of interesting. It's technically RDNA 1, but kind of up, not upgraded, but kind of modified to be custom RDNA 2. So to properly explain this, it's from what I have been told myself, you should be looking forward to RDNA 2 features. So you've got the so it will obviously be better than RDNA 1. So the teraflops are going to be more powerful. That if we're comparing our 10.8 to 8 teraflops of custom RDNA 2, we should be looking at about if we were using RDNA 1, that 10.28 teraflops should roughly translate to about 20 teraflops of RDNA 1. That's a lot of power. But since it's just better produced, it's just more efficient, should we say? And if you're confused at all, so am I. I am describing this my ability, but obviously you're gonna get people out there that know their shit loads more than I do. Memory interface is 16 gigabytes of DDR6. That's self-explanatory. The memory interface. Memory bandwidth is 448 gigabytes per second. Whew, that's I like it. Internal storage is really 825 gigabytes of SSD memory. Mate, nah. I know what the next memory, right? Because what everyone's worried about is that internal storage devices, such as for the PlayStation, will be the old generation of. So what you can have now for like the Xbox One and the PS4. So what your when you plug like a memory card in, basically, what you have now, you probably have like a 16. If it's specifically built for PlayStation, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be specifically built for PlayStation, so that you can have extra memory, basically. So you can have random if it says if it's good for gaming, then perfect. I'll talk more about how Xbox is doing it slightly differently later on. I/O input, I'm not entirely sure what I/O throughput is, so please excuse me. Expandable storage, of course, we've got the usual I've explained about. External storage, yep, same. PS4 gaming, yep, same thing. And we've got an optical drive, which is like the what you can read disc, basically. Of course, it's the 4K UHD Blu-ray drive that you get with a PlayStation 4 Plus. No, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what's called PlayStation 4 Pro. There we go, Reese. You finally got it. Oh, I'm getting out of text. But as I was saying, what you should be looking out for is. Oh dear, let me look down. But yeah, I personally think that possibly the PlayStation 5 could have been much better. In my personal opinion, even though that technically what they're not talking about yet is how the most expensive part of it is actually the cooling aspect. Especially as they had the most complaints from their own user base saying that the fan that they were using was way too loud. So what they're using at the moment is a liquid cooling device for most of their consoles. So to truly explain that, you can just find someone else because I'm rambling on too much about the specs. And in all honesty, if you don't understand specs, you probably won't understand it. Let me just say this right now. If you're looking for a simple explanation about which is more powerful console, I'm going to say this now. The Xbox Series X Series X, let me emphasize that because some people will get confused about this, is the more powerful console. Then it goes into PlayStation 5. Then it goes onto the Xbox One S. Xbox Series S. Already, I'm getting confused by Microsoft. Choose a better naming system, you fucking idiots. Oh, damn it. But, as I was saying, the specs I've talked about, and then my primary feature of the PlayStation 5 is their SSD. So, from the article I'm reading at the moment, I'm going to read the entire paragraph, I think. Let me look at it now quickly to see if I can miss anything. Otherwise, if it's too confusing, then I'm not going to talk about it. So, the basic overview is the SSD is like I said, it's key to the PlayStation 5 experience. This is what they're promoting in all of their things that's far superior than over the Xbox. This is also a costly thing. But will it affect during games? No. No, it won't. It will affect loading times that possibly on different hardware, if the Xbox didn't have a architecture on their consoles, yeah, it would be massively faster. We're talking like if you ever played on the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man PS4, surprisingly, their load times have been known to be about 20 to 30 seconds on the PS4. Now, if we're talking about on the PS5, if it was loaded on, it would take literally a second. So their SSD is powerful. And I will give them credit to say that, yes, the SSD is important because it moves textures, it moves them quite quickly, it moves, like, integral parts of games. So we're talking about the coding side can be easily loaded within seconds. Those are like, to properly explain this, those are literally letters that can literally play a part in the game. The gameplay aspect doesn't matter. That doesn't put load times into consideration. What takes loading is the buildings, the textures, the blocks, and all the other stuff. The character models. So what the SSD would do would make that load time of all those design features incredibly fast. I'm not saying it will probably do the seconds of a second, like similar to the Spider-Man PS4. But what I'm saying is, if someone was to put the effort and time into, say, coding it to the best of their ability, where they literally can get like no load times, I am certain this generation, or at least the next generation, will be able to get rid of load times completely. That is insane, because for so many people growing up, load times have been an integral part of everything. So there you go. It's something to clearly think about. And I'm not ever gonna knock. I think his name is Mark Cerny. I'm not entirely certain, to be fair. But yeah, there is still a lot to talk about PS5. So they're focusing on using this whole console generation is focused on using lessening load times, which is on the console's part, and sometimes on the game's part. But if you're first party, then you already got the resources available towards you. So, and they're also focusing on ray tracing, which meaning that it can give us better reflection. It can give us loads of different things. But the PS4, even the Xbox One X, can't even do full ray tracing. They can do like bits of it, but not. It's not perfect. It lags the game massively if you put it on a Xbox One X. This is the previous console generation. Oh god, I hate the naming system. But reflections will be better. The shadows will be better. Global illuminations will be better. On this is what their sales pitch to people are, and I understand that. But full ray tracing, yeah, they can do that. Reflections, of course, will obviously be better. The better hardware, of course, you can get better looking games on it. And they're focused on, actually, weirdly enough, they're focusing on audio as well, because one of their part of their things is that the PS5 controller will play a part in audio input and output. Potentially, from what I've heard, is that the PS5, I don't know if it's true, and you can smite me down from the heavens if I get this wrong, but I heard that the PlayStation 5 has an internal microphone, which personally I'm not a big fan of. A, that can get damaged really easily if you drop it, and B, I don't know, it doesn't seem right to me. It just feels a bit ugh. You're using the TV to listen to your mates and also listen to the game sound. Nah, mate. But more interestingly, they're also using the controller as a output device, so meaning that you can hear noises through your controller, and it uses 3D audio similar to what most games would do on TVs. So I'm intrigued to see how well this it helps developers create a better game and all that other stuff, because you need both a hardware and software to work together to create a truly perfect game. So I'm talking loads about the PS5, and I'm going to talk about a fuck ton about the Xbox One when I get the chance. But more importantly, I want to say a few things, such as one final thing about what the console will do. This is like the positive side of today, which is I'm going to genuinely talk about PlayStation in a good sense. If you know me, this is incredible what you're listening to right now. I'm usually so against them, but as I got older, I realised the console wars means fucking shit all anymore. You're voting, you can vote for your wallet all you fucking like, but no one's gonna. Those corporations, yeah, they give a little shit about you, but that's because of your money. But just enjoy gaming. No one needs to go on a Twitter and just ramble on their opposition. That pisses me off, and that's why I stopped the console wars completely. Backwards compatibility with PS4 accessories is the last and final thing I will say about it. I'm disappointed in this. Not, I am and I'm not. I understand why they can't do PS3, PS2, PS1. They don't have the resources for it. In all honesty, this took Microsoft. Microsoft, of all people, took them years to find a way to do it. And of course, they've got that locked up in a. How they're doing it is. Even Sony doesn't know. They've locked that up tight. I'm sure if they all work together, then yes, they could easily put the PS1, PS2, PS3. But even then, how they're doing it at the moment is almost like you put the disc in, the Xbox will read it, Xbox will read it, and it will download a basically new game. That's how I see it anyway. And it will only, and this is kind of how I think Xbox is doing other stuff with it, but I'll talk about that more later, which is cool news, and I can't wait to talk about it. But yes. Of course, they've got for every PS4 game you can play on the PS5. That's the best part. But the problem is, it's not all of them. It's not all of it. So yeah, you get your backwards compatibility, but it changes nothing. This is what disappoints me the most. Xbox is giving people with the Xbox. If you go to Xbox compatibility, it's giving them upgrades to their original games. There's no upgrades. There's no fidelity hasn't been improved. We haven't got 4K support or anything like that. If the developers really wanted to go back to it and just update some of the textures or something. So I'm disappointed in them for doing this, but I understand why they're not. They may not have the resources. They are their own company. They are a multi-billion company. I'm not denying that. I heard that PlayStation alone, that just whole thing right there. So between 2013 and 2018, managed to sell about $8 billion worth of stuff. That's a lot of money. But compared to Microsoft, where Xbox is selling well, but that's just one part of them. They've got the Windows, they've got tablets, they've got everything. They've got a lot behind them. They even had phones at one point. But yeah, they have yearly subscriptions. They have a lot of subscriptions that people buy, that I use, that everyone uses. They've got streaming on point. Well, we'll talk about next week, but the streaming aspect, but still, Microsoft is a huge company. Massive. That's why they can have the resources that possibly Sony can't. So one of those resources was backwards compatibility, not that Sony can't bring like PS3 games, PS2 games, or even PS1 games. But here's the complaint as well. So there's as much as I'm droning on about PlayStation, what they're doing right, they're doing a lot of wrong as well. They're doing a lot of wrong. One of them being that what I don't get is that this is a new console generation. You need to have good PR for people to buy your stuff. So we're talking from both sides of things. What I don't understand is that I talked about Spider-Man beforehand, and they're releasing with the new PS5. They are releasing Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, weirdly enough, they are doing a quote-unquote remaster with updated visuals and all that other stuff, and I can commend them for that. But while Xbox is doing it for free, you have to buy Miles Morales for the Spider-Man quote-unquote remaster. And everyone's saying like, oh, why is everyone complaining? It updates stuff. It's cost development. And yes, of course it is. But Xbox is giving it for free. Why aren't they? You've got to think about that. And they are technically giving away for free. It's just if you buy the $70 special edition of Spider-Man Miles Morales. That's horrendous. I'm sure Spider-Man, and I know for certain that I've heard from friends that Miles Morales is a good game. But to truly say that it's worth $70? Or, in my case, it's probably like 65 quid? Nah, mate. I barely want to spend 50 quid on a game. Oh, here we go. I got the dog home. But yeah, what are you doing? Of course, I just don't understand their point of view of this. Okay, so when you're selling a new console, you've got to bring out games and you've got to bring out services that seem like a good idea, seem that is a good for the consumer move. That's what Xbox has been doing with loads of different stuff, and this just seems so anti-consumer. We are spending already, if you're buying the proper non-digital edition of the PS5, you're spending $450 already. All right, they're not giving you a game with that, so already you got to spend another $70 on buying Miles Morales or Demon's Souls, because that's another point I've got to talk about in a minute. Is the price hike. Now, I complained about this already in my previous episodes, but the price hike is not good. Oh well, we'll see. So, we'll see what they say on that. Hold on, I'm going to get thoughts together because everything's spiraling out of control at this point. Spider-Man Miles Morales is a DLC. I'm saying this right now. It is a standalone DLC. Insomniac has said it. PlayStation has said it. And it's not a full-fledged game. It's technically, right, if we think about this, Spider-Man Miles Morales is technically a 2-year in development game. Now, for most people, that's, oh, really? That took that long to create it? It should be its own game. But for game developers, that's not enough time to create it. Even though they have the engine, even though they have the gameplay, it takes a lot of time to create a game. It takes 4 years at minimum. Even if you got every tool with you, you've got, if there needs to be no changes at all from the other game, you've still got animation, you've got to change that, you've got to change the story, you've got to change all those other stuff. So 2 years, no. It is a DLC. It's a standalone DLC, which is going to be big, sure. But just think about that. Just think about that, okay? Well, there's also Demon's Souls, which, yeah, it's also come to PS5, quote unquote, but it doesn't seem my type of game. And if it's your type of game, sure, be my guest. It is perfect. But yeah, just be sure that you want a PS5 because there's a lot of things wrong with it outside of it. The price hike of all of its exclusives are going to be 70 quid. No matter what, that is 70 quid. That's an insane amount of price for a game itself, and I genuinely think that 60 quid for a game now is way too expensive. 7 years ago, I was paying 30 quid for GTA 5. 30 quid! Now it's doubled the price. In fact, it's now 40 more quid. 40 more quid as in, like, 40 more pounds in my country. But yeah, that's an insane amount of money. Just look like this. It's just, I don't understand. If you have trouble, we are in a pandemic. Finances are fucked. And you want to raise the prices? Really? Really? Think about this. Genuinely think about it. I don't know. We're gonna have to talk about Xbox because I'm getting wound up about how stupid PlayStation can be. We'll see. We'll see. What if you are thinking about getting a PlayStation? If you're thinking about getting tell me why. Tell me why you're thinking of getting it. Talk to me. Tell me why you're thinking about why. If you're excited for Demon's Souls, tell me why. Are you a big fan of it? Are you looking forward to the exclusives that it has and all that other stuff? I am personally really intrigued about it. But now we must talk about my favourite. No. I do prefer playing on Xbox, so guess what? We're talking about Xbox. Xbox. So, there's a lot to talk about. A lot. Because Xbox doesn't shut the fuck up, apparently. Just saying this right now. They don't shut the fuck up. So, we have two generations. We've got two variations. Like with the PS4, PS5, there's the all-digital edition, which is the Xbox Series S, and the one with the disc drive, the Xbox Series X. Even though, right, they both have different specs on them, so that's fun. So you're gonna have to. We are now talking about the specs for the new Xbox consoles. Now, bear with me as I explain each individual one. We'll start off with the more powerful one. For the Xbox Series X, you have 8 cores of 3.8 gigahertz custom Zen 2 CPU. That is also the same for... Oh no, it's 3.6 hertz on a... of 8 cores on the Xbox Series S. So they're both kind of similar. Kind of. Now for the GPU, which is the graphics side of it, oh, here's the beauty of the Xbox Series X. 12.15 T-flops, so basically 12 teraflops, of RDNA 2, not custom, so this is a very good GPU. A very good GPU. We're talking about, if we're talking about like PC GPUs now that are coming out, so the 3080 series by Nvidia, the 3080 Ti, the most expensive edition, has 16. It has 16 teraflops. Let that sink in. For your 500, we'll talk about the console price in a minute, but for a console, it has as much as, no, it has slightly less than a 1,200 quid GPU for PC. That's just a GPU. Remember I do that? That's just GPU. You're paying what? Possibly 2.5. So you're buying a PS5 and an Xbox One X just to get the same power, basically, as a PC would. But hey, so, but sadly for the Xbox Series S, the all digital edition, you're only getting 4 teraflops. But if you're like these idiots on the internet saying, oh, 4 teraflops on the Xbox Series S and 6 teraflops on the Xbox One X, the older generation is more powerful. No! Let me get this correct. Let me tell you this right now. 4 teraflops on RDNA 2 is roughly about 8 teraflops on RDNA 1. As I said, it is confusing, and there are lots more YouTubers out there that can explain it better than even I can. So, we have, on the memory side, so this is like how much you can, memory is, I'm having a stroke, please call someone. I'm joking, of course. So it's got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, sorry, and that's on the Xbox Series X, and 10 gigabytes of GDDR6 for the Xbox Series S. You still with me? Good. Memory bandwidth is I think it's a lot less for, oh no, it's a little bit more actually. It's allowing me. So it can do 560 gigabytes per second for the Xbox Series X versus the Xbox Series S, which can go only up to 224 gigabytes per second. The Xbox One can only go up to 120 gigabytes per second, basically. So that's how much you can like install. That's, you know, when you're looking at normal, like when you're downloading a game, you usually get a thing on saying like, we're using up something per second. So when you're downloading a game, you get a thing telling you, oh, this is 99 gigabytes at the moment, all that stuff. And it can go up to 120 on the old Xbox One consoles. And already for the Xbox Series S, which is roughly the same price as an old gen console, it's going up to 224 gigabytes per second. That's insane. So internal storage, this is where it gets iffy. Internal storage is 1 terabyte custom NVMe SSD. That's a terabyte, which is good. But the NVMe NVMe SSD is a new technology, so it's going to be expensive to buy the expansion cards. So let me tell you some news on that. The expansion cards will cost you, I'm not joking you, $220 for an expansion card. So if you wanted more memory, it's going to cost you $220 US of A dollars. That's a lot of money. That is almost as much as an Xbox Series S. And on the Xbox, talking of the Xbox Series S, we have 512GB custom NVMe SSD. So that's almost half of what the Xbox Series X has. And we're talking about so expensive expansion drives. I don't know. This is where they could make up their money. This is where Microsoft can say, we're going to make up our money through this. So, in all honesty, I don't know which one's going to be cheaper. Just make up your mind on that. IO throughput, yeah, I've never understood this, so I'm just going to quickly go over it. It's got, for both of them, looks like, yep, it's 2.5 gigabytes uncompressed, 4.8 gigabytes compressed. I don't understand the IO throughput personally. Expandable storage is 1 terabyte expansion card, matches internal storage, and yep, that's the same for the Xbox Series S. Both use the same. Oh, sorry, I got that wrong. Sorry. Expandable external storage is a USB 3.2 external HDD support. That they both use that optical drive for the Xbox Series S. And for fuck's sake, the Xbox gets a better naming system. I'm getting pissed off now. But yeah, the Xbox Series X has an optical drive, which is a 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, and the Xbox Series S is just digital. Okay, we're almost done. So the performance targets for each of them is that the Xbox Series X can go up to, no, I'm not joking you, can go up to, if they really wanted to, 8K graphics at a whopping 120, but can go further than that, up to 240 frames per second. Versus the Xbox Series S, again, it is a much lower consoles in that reserve. So it can go up to 1440p, which is roughly like I think it's almost up to about 2K graphics, basically, at 60 frame up to 120 frames per second. So it can still do 120 frames per second, like the Xbox Series X. But again, the Xbox Series X can go further than that. Versus, yeah, you get the idea. And the color doesn't matter. It just matters about what's inside. Of course, surprisingly, the Xbox Series S is the smallest Xbox console to date. I think it is genuinely the smallest console ever created. As in, like, compared to, like, handheld devices and all that other stuff. We're talking about, like, a proper that. Yeah, you get the idea. Now, the prices. For the US of A, for the Xbox Series X, it will cost you $499 US. If you're in the UK, it is £450. And if you're in Europe, it is €499. Now, for the Xbox Series S, it is $299 US, $300, and for the UK, it is £250, and euro, and the same thing for the euros is 299, so €300 basically. That's a cheap console. That is almost that is the price that the Switch gave on launch, and that sold amazingly well. And the release date is, of course, November 10th. I almost forgot to inform you that I was supposed just to tell you the PlayStation release date. PlayStation 5 release date is in USA, America, and Mexico, and the regions around that place, and Canada. is on the 12th of November, and for Europe and other countries around that, around worldwide release as they like to call it, it is formally being announced on the 19th of November, so a week afterwards. But not only that, but I've got loads, and I mean loads more Xbox to talk to you about, because Xbox doesn't just stop at consoles. No, they like to keep us on my feet, honestly. Just the amount of stuff they throw my way, just loads of stuff. So more importantly, I need to talk to you about one of them, the things they're really pushing with next gen. Oops, just headbutt the mic then. Which is Game Pass, surprisingly. So I'm going to talk about one of the things they're adding to Game Pass, and I'll talk about the biggest news story that I will possibly ever talk about on this channel alone. And you've probably heard of it because it's been on several hundred news channels in the last... well, he's done it way before even I can. But at least now you can have a proper take of it properly sinking in, per se, after a week. That's all I can say. But, yes, they are adding EA Play to Game Pass, basically, for no extra cost, even if you have, like, the normal game... I think it's just normal Game Pass that they're adding it into. So it doesn't matter if you have a Game Pass Ultimate or anything like that. If you have the normal Game Pass, you automatically get EA access. So all their games, such as the wonderful BioWare games, the cool DICE games, and the shit, basically yearly installments of sports games. So look forward to playing none of those. But, no one can deny it is a good service to be part of Game Pass at the moment. More specifically, if you own Game Pass, you do not have an excuse to not even try Dragon Age Inquisition, or, as everyone likes to take the piss out of it, Mass Effect Andromeda. Play the game. You might enjoy it. Just fucking try it, please. For me. Just willow me. But I'm really excited for it, because I've tried EA Access when it first came out. I thought it was a cool little service, personally. And then I kind of realised, it's EA. Some of their games are a bit shit. Their yearly releases are complete trash. They've got BioWare, which I adore, but sadly their last game I wasn't a big fan of, Anthem. But I think it has potential, so I'm still holding out on the fact that they can make it good. But even if they released BioWare game every year, it wouldn't be worth it. In my opinion, that's why I kind of stopped it. EA Access kind of became, they release one good game a year, and it gets released into their quote-unquote vault a year afterwards. So that's why I thought, no, this ain't happening. And even then, I kind of realised that when Apex Legends kind of became free, it was like, Respawn is doing this for the next, 10 years or something. Unless EA decided to make more proper high-quality games, EA Access, or EA Play as they want to be known now, is not worth just the cost alone. So adding this as to part of Game Pass, perfect deal. Perfect deal in my opinion. But there's still, EA isn't for everyone. They've had some horrendous games in the past, and they deserve most of the hate they get from crunch to even just pissing normal people off, like with the amount of microtransactions in the games. But they have their defenders, and their yearly releases of football games and all that other stuff. And finally, and only just finally, our sports gamers hopefully going to revolt, starting with the Madden series, from what I can tell. So now, can we please get to FIFA? Can we just stop all sports games? Maybe that's a good thing. But more importantly, it is a good value to Game Pass. This is what Microsoft is doing. They kind of said, "Hey EA, you're clearly struggling on the platform. No one wants to buy you. How about we add you into this? We give you a little bit of revenue, and it was like it was a sweet deal. It's a sweet deal. EA can't complain about it. Not really. They will find a way to complain about going, oh, we're not getting as much revenue as we want because they're a greedy ass company. But they've got to admit this is more sales than they had beforehand. So they've got gems in the past. They've got probably got gems in the future. Because Titanfall 2 was part of EA. You got to think about that. That was a sweet game. Dragon Age Inquisition genuinely game of a lifetime for me. But that's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but sod off. But there's other news along with Xbox. I think this is probably the biggest news to date, right? I'm going to talk about Xbox acquiring several studios, but more importantly, it technically was a competent, quote-unquote competent publisher. So, one of my favourite publishers of all time has been taken out of the ring. They are Bethesda Studios. I was about to say Bethesda Game Studios, but that's the development people, Todd Howard-esque sort of stuff. But no, well, ZeniMax technically been bought out from ZeniMax, but technically, right, if we're going to go back into the history of Bethesda started ZeniMax and as a way to keep their private business afloat, just to say here's a part of us that we could do, and that's how they created all these amazing games. And yes, as bad as ZeniMax kind of got at times with the legal stuff, and everything like that, and even some of their poor choices in reviewing, not pissed off at all at that, but they have been bought out by Xbox, which is a surprise to literally everyone, because this was not what I expected them to do. I expected them to continuously buy studios such as like smaller studios like Double Fine, bring them up and create them into a bigger studio, as they're doing to all these other studios out there. Ninja Theory is supposedly getting a second studio. I have heard this rumour, by the way, so it may be... if I was to have a guess, it'd still be in Cambridge. In the UK, I'm talking about. I know there's a Cambridge in America, but no. They're staying in the UK. Ninja Theory's staying in this part of town. I need a job, okay? But still, it's intriguing to find out that one of my favourite console manufacturer and my favourite publisher are now one and the same. Xbox owns them. And Sony can't do fuck all about it. And this is where it comes into a discussion of, okay, Sony is a big company, no one's going to deny that, and their PlayStation brand is huge. But as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I don't know, if I haven't, between the years 2013 and the years 2018, they made like 8 billion. And that's unincluding costs to marketing and all that other stuff. That's Sony alone, and they've also got TVs that they could sell and all this other stuff. Microsoft spent a whopping $7.5 billion on acquiring Bethesda. That's madness. Utter madness. And Microsoft can do this because they've got like several very profitable brands going on. They've got the Xbox brand, of course. They have the Windows brand. They have so much more. They've got cloud technology being used. They've got Microsoft Workplace, which is being used quite a bit now, that they can genuinely just go, sell to businesses. They're making a fucking fuck ton this year. So, in all honesty, is this a surprise? Not really. They probably made it up just this year alone. From game sales because of the pandemic, everyone's staying home, thinking, do you know what? I'm gonna go back to gaming. From even to businesses kind of relying on Microsoft, going, we're going to use Microsoft Teams to work out what is the best solution to continue forward. And I know a lot of I know you've got the Google place, but that I've heard from a lot of people they hate using that. Google is, I swear at points, an incompetent leader of whatever they put their heads to. I'm looking at you, YouTube. I'm not trying to be horrible, but come on, sort your fucking shit out. It's just intriguing to me that this is we've talked a lot about consoles today, and we're gonna like next week we're gonna talk about the streaming services. But more importantly, it's just to get. I just wanted to get this out there to get my opinion out there of all the consoles and everything like that. And this is gonna be. I believe that Xbox is in the Bethesda, sorry, is in the right hands of Xbox, because Bethesda are known to fuck things up when they're Bethesda. When they're not Bethesda, they make fan fucking tastic games. You got the likes of Wolfenstein, the first one. Wolfenstein 2 was a bit meh, but still. Doom series, oh, beautiful Doom. It's like it's like not an ice cream. No. It's like dark chocolate, so rich, so lovely. And then you got other franchises. You got the Elder Scrolls that I know a lot of people like. Oh, you get a very divisive topic on Elder Scrolls series, and you get a very divisive topic on the Fallout series, especially when Fallout 76 came out. But the whole point is these are very popular IPs that. Alright, ignore 76. Fallout 4 was a good game. Fallout 3 was a fantastic game. And people will not shut the fuck up about Fallout New Vegas. And you still see memes now that Obsidian and Bethesda are now together as are now sister studios in a way. And we now have Xbox does technically own the Fallout license. So it makes you think, kind of saying, they're making these memes going like getting Bethesda and getting Obsidian and just saying Kith, trying to say make a baby, and that baby must be Fallout New Vegas 2. It's the memes coming out of this is fantastic, but more importantly, the possibilities of all these amazing games that I love that I would usually pay 60 quid day one for. I'm now gonna pay 10 quid a month. No, sorry, 15 quid a month because I am on Ultimate. But that is insane to me. I am paying 15 quid a month just to get all these amazing Bethesda titles. Well, I haven't even talked about Starfield yet. The new IP from Todd Howard. Todd Howard Studio, the Bethesda Game Studios. All these studios working as one to produce a fantastic game. So in all honesty, I am looking. This deal is a fucking blessing. It's a blessing for Bethesda. It's a blessing for Microsoft, because all we hear, we don't hear they don't have any more games. We don't that bullshit about Xbox not having any games. No. That's been put to rest. No. Now PlayStation wants Xbox to put games onto the PlayStation. No, you triggered us way too much recently. Get a fucking Xbox. That $250 for that Xbox Series Xbox Series S. Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead. I personally think that's what needs to be done. Just buy it. It's an impulse purchase. If you got a little spare money around, do it. But I'm sick of PlayStation going. Oh, I'm not gonna fucking. It's like you're just mumbling on your voice now, aren't you? But on all honesty, the console wars are shit, so I'm not gonna go too much into that. But still, it's just a fantastic deal overall. I'm looking forward to playing Starfield, potentially releasing in 2021, which I'm very much looking forward to. I'm hoping like early release. Come on, March time. Hopefully by then I'll have a job. But still, you just got to think about it. Just Bethesda with Microsoft is a pleasure of a deal. It's literally shattering. It's got earth-shattering consequences potentially, right? And yes, I hear everyone saying about Microsoft is now a monopoly. Blah 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 blah. Shut up. Just shut up. No, they are not a monopoly. Please be quiet. You ignorant fools. But I'm gonna probably do it to my final thoughts, and in all honesty, I'm gonna because I thought this was gonna be like the longest episode ever, but it's probably like the same amount of time. In all honesty, which is kind of good. I kept it to what it usually would be, but yeah, I'm gonna keep it to my final thoughts now. So my final thoughts are: Switch, please don't make a 4K console. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. That's unlike Nintendo. Full stop. PlayStation 5, you've got goodish specs, but you've got bad business practices. Xbox, just keep doing you. And if you're feeling generous, feel free to give PlayStation's that Starfield, a little bit of Starfield, make them want more. Make them want more. But in all honesty, I know what I'm gonna get. What I potentially want, what I desperately want now, more than ever than anything. I want. I genuinely want that an Xbox, more specifically an Xbox Series X, because A, the power, B, Game Pass, C, I haven't even talked about backwards compatibility for both consoles. I don't even I was supposed to talk that. Oh fuck it, I'll do it in the ending thoughts. Xbox, right? We can go back 4 generations of consoles. I can play Xbox One games. I can play Xbox 60 games. I can play the original Xbox games, and now I can play Series X games. All of that I can play on the Series X. Versus PlayStation, which is just PlayStation 4 games. Even though they're remastering Spider-Man, and I've talked about this before, but they even changed the model, which is stupid. They're putting all this effort into rebranding the character. Because, guess what? I don't know. Maybe this is a Sony decision. Maybe this is a game decision. I'm on the fence that it's more Sony, but this could also be a part in a larger scheme of what the not what the publisher wants, and what Insomniac wants to do with the license. But hey, I trust that they know what they're doing, and the change of actor isn't too much. Isn't too bad. Not really, let's be honest. But we'll see if things go as bad as they might do. Well, let's see. But more importantly, so I want to end these thoughts here. This isn't a console war anymore. This is a battle for your money, but Xbox isn't doing this. Xbox is doing their own thing. PlayStation is doing their own thing. Switch, well, Nintendo's always done their own thing. But this isn't a battle of that. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about the true war that is going on in the games industry. That is the streaming war. Even Microsoft themselves have said they don't see Sony as a competitor. Now you're going to hear me I'm going to be honest and brutal about the streaming services. I have played 2 out of 3 of them. I have played Stadia at a mate's house. I have tried Xbox Game Pass Cloud. And Luna has only just been announced. And I will talk about every other competitor out there that wants to join through rumours and all that, because who doesn't like a little bit of rumours? More importantly, we're coming to the end of the show. This has been potentially an important update for all of you. The console generation, I think it's 8, is coming to an end. We're now starting with Generation 9. And if you're one of these people that have started with the Generation 1 of games, consoles, I congratulate you. I congratulate you, and I put, if I had a hat, I'd bow it towards you and all that other stuff. To truly see where this whole industry has come from, and to stick through it all these years, through the highs, the lows, the everything in between. This industry keeps on giving, and we will never stop with that. I will continue to. I have a voice. I want to use this voice to talk about games, and more importantly, I want this industry to be better than it is. And more importantly, it can be better. It can be used as a tool to to sow the divide between everything at the moment, because this world is fucked, from US politics to UK politics to every political background to racism to all this sort of stuff. Gaming is there just to prove one thing. It's just saying, hey, by the way, if you enjoy a game, we're gonna take the piss out of you. Gaming is fun, and it should be there just to talk absolute shit about a person on the internet. And more importantly, it's a way to heal, to move forward past 2020, to get past this disaster of a year, to get even through it. I think a lot of us here have used gaming as a way to get through this disaster of a year. I've used my voice to put forward ideas and ideologies that maybe you've never heard of a retard such as myself. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. You know. Who knows? So I'm going to leave it at that. It has been a fun episode to record. It's been fun to talk about stuff. It's been fun just to do stuff. More importantly, it's just fun to speak to you lot. We are growing, and more importantly, it's just keep an eye about everything. Make sure that you're keeping alright. Keep safe, keep healthy, of course. But more importantly, enjoy life when it's absolutely at its worst. Keep playing Among Us. Keep playing your Apex. Keep playing games. But more importantly, enjoy what you do. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, kind of. If you've been listening, I can guess. But still, if you've been watching or listening, thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you on the next thing I create. Bye bye now.